Hey, Ailene, it's great to see you today. Could you give our listeners and watchers a little bit of background on who you are and where you work?
Sure. Hi, Cindy. My name is Ailene Brown. I'm the Director of People and Culture at HLZAE, which is an architectural and engineering firm in New York. I've been here for about a little over 2 years, and I was the first HR hire.
It feels like it's longer than 2 years. You've accomplished so much since you've been there. I didn't
With
mean
your
it
help.
was longer that way.
Right. Uh,
So tell us a little bit about, since you came on board, what you've witnessed about the Metis Group and how we've specifically helped HLZAE with leadership acceleration.
Yes, so I have to say that when I was first onboarded, knowing that I was the first HR hire at HLZAE, I was shocked at how much was accomplished in terms of the skeleton, the groundwork, the HR functionality that was built out before I got there. And then I found out that it was a lot of it was due to you guys. And so knowing that that framework existed really helped me hit the ground running, right? I was hired to hire people. I got approved as a hire to do hiring. Knowing that you guys were there to do our data-driven hiring was super paramount because that was a big contributor to, the first, year of my job where I hired 50 people. Um, and then, knowing that every year for like the past 5 years, you've been doing leadership acceleration for our leaders or managers, our high potential employees has been paramount, right? Using that data that we, use to hire and applying it to us or the organizational internally has been, invaluable.
So, and I'm guessing the fact that HLZAE has done this for 4 or 5 years is meaning that you guys are seeing some residual effect that it's working, and that the leadership practices that people are putting in place are actually sticking. And you're actually seeing some traction in that. So that's
Yes.
exciting. I remember when I was on your side of the desk as a recovering HR person, I was so frustrated because I always wanted to get to this talent stuff, right? But I had everything else I had to do. I had the hiring, I had the immigration stuff, I had compensation I had to do, and benefits and payroll and employee handbooks and EEOC claims and OFCCP and oh my gosh, who had time to get to the talent? And so finally, when I started this business, I'm like, that's all we're doing is the talent stuff. We're going to really be behavior experts at work. We're going to focus on right people, right seats, getting extraordinary performance out of them in the culture. And so when I met the folks at HLZAE, it's not that small a firm. You guys have how many employees now?
115.
115 architects and engineers. And these guys were just like soaking it up like a sponge. They were so excited. They understood how the quality of their talent was their differentiator in the marketplace. But, I understand as an HR person too, it was the stuff I always wanted to do. So bringing somebody else in from the outside to do the stuff I wanted to do sounded counterintuitive because I'd rather they do the stuff I didn't want to do. So how did
I mean,
how did it feel for you to know that we had already put some of these things in place and you were running with it?
the fact that that you could build it, right? Like no one when they're doing as an HR person of one, no one has time to build the infrastructure to really that I will end up working off of, right? Like, you've built it and all I get to do is play in it, right? Which is super helpful, right, for me. I think that it is sad that as an HR function, we don't have the time to develop talent and to hire appropriately and hire correctly. There's too many steps, in the onboarding process and, all the logistics and, feet on the ground work. But it's so nice to to have that you built a sandbox that I can play in, right? I now have the data, I now have the tools, I have the infrastructure, right? And all I have to do is figure out who's going to get training, who do I need to nurture, right? What kind of nurture, what kind of help do they need from me, right? And that's all through your guidance.
Great. So, I'm sure other HR professionals and executives listening to this would like to know how difficult it is to work with us, or how easy. And obviously, I wouldn't bring you on if I thought you were going to say, "Oh my gosh, they're horrible." But we've always had a great relationship, and you've worked with several of our, or your team has worked with several of our coaches. John, our integrator, has been involved with you guys. I've obviously been involved, and of course, Anne, our office manager extraordinaire, has also interacted in all the administration of assessments and follow up with people. So what's it been like from your side of the desk looking at all of us buzzing about over here?
It's been incredibly easy. You guys are very responsive, like scary responsive. I don't know what Anne is, what kind of coffee she's drinking over there, but it's pretty good. Like I would like some of that coffee. Incredibly responsive, incredibly, you speak to the needs of the organization, right? Like I can't speak to, what happened before me, but I know like what you did, what you built, and I know what you've done since I've been here, right? Which is absolutely like intuitively and conclusively building, right? The training programs, um, responsive, easy to work with, right? Like, we we send Ann the assessment, for hiring. You guys get back to us. I have a conversation. I'm armed with questions. I'm armed with information for each candidate. It's really like pie easy, like very easy.
Thanks. Thanks. And I one of the things that we love from our side is that we get to work with such fantastic organizations in every industry imaginable. And so we get to learn a lot about different industries. And while we have, as you say, a framework or a skeleton that we work through to make sure that the learning is sticky and that it's a combination of some structured learning and coaching and practical application and stuff like this, we feel like we still need to take into consideration some things about the industry. And I remember when we first started working with HLZAE, and everybody reported to a studio leader. So these studio leaders had countless direct reports. And we're like, I know that's how it's historically been done. And I remember Stephanie and John saying, yeah, but this is not sustainable. It's not scalable. How are we going to fix this? And so we had to learn the industry as well as, what's going on. And some of the learning becomes customized to how you guys are implementing some of these things, even in the field. So, have you heard any feedback from some of your participants and stuff about the extent to which it was relatable to what they were doing? That they felt that we did have an ear to that and it wasn't just plug and play?
Absolutely. You absolutely paid attention, asked questions about the roles, about the responsibilities, about the requirements, right? You've built and found and nurtured managers in a field where there aren't that many like natural managers, which has been very special, and that's being very attuned to the architectural and engineering world. Um, you know, uh, Again, you guys being data driven has lent itself very well to our technical staff, right? They are knowledge seekers, they are intellectuals, and so being armed with that information and knowing how to use it to even build themselves as individuals has been paramount. So although you speak to the individual, it's always within the context of the organization.
Thanks so much. Is there anything else you want to add? You've been such a pleasure to work with the whole organization. And we always get nervous when new HR people are brought in because they might have their own things. And we've just loved everything about interacting with you and trying to give you as much support as you needed in your role. So anything else you want to add?
I mean, I think just having you guys as team members, as extensions, right? As team members, everyone wins, right? Like, I think that if you find HR people that it's not an ego thing and they really want to help the organization, then they'll want you as allies, of course. Like, so as long as they know that you're not taking the light, right? You're making more light for everybody. I think that's the key.
Well, great. Thanks so much. I really appreciate all your time today and look forward to continue working with you.
Thanks, Cindy.